Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to Accessibility and Online Learning. My name is Dr. Anwar Hijaz. I'm a political science faculty member at Saddleback College and faculty mentor for CVC at ONE. I wanted to start off today's webinar with some housekeeping announcements before we begin. So today we do have tech support available. Please email conferences@foundationccc.org if you have any questions. Closed captioning is also available for this webinar and may be enabled through your Zoom settings. Throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, please submit them using the Q&A tab. We'll address as many questions as possible during the session, and questions will be that we're not able to answer will be posted on the CVC at ONE website. This session recording and associated slides will also be posted on the CVC webinar webpage. Near the end of the webinar, we will be sharing a survey link in the chat for your feedback. Your input is incredibly valuable and helps us to improve and design future programming that better meets the needs of our systems. We truly appreciate if you could take some time, a few minutes, to complete it. I'm pleased to share that today's main presenter is Ellie Constantine, who will be speaking shortly. But before we begin the webinar, I'd like to turn it to the Chancellor's office.
Good afternoon. My name is Jessica Fagan. I'm a new Dean of Academic Affairs for the Chancellor's Office. And on behalf of the Chancellor's Office, I'd like to thank our partners at the ASCCC, Accessibility Center, and CVC at ONE for putting today's webinar together. Today's session comes at a critical moment as we prepare for the revised ADA Title II regulations that take effect on April 24th. But it's not just about compliance. It is about accessibility as an expression of our values, welcoming all students, supporting faculty through an evolving technological landscape, and doing this work. We are here to support you in designing intentionally for meaningful, accessible learning experiences. Our goal is to make it easier for you to integrate these expectations into your everyday practice while strengthening equity and success across our system. On behalf of the Chancellor's Office, I want to thank our partners and all of you for your commitment to this work. Your participation today helps ensure that our colleges not only meet important accessibility standards, but truly create learning environments where all students can thrive. And I'll now pass it back to Dr. Anwar.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm going to be passing it to Don Akinaka from the Accessibility Center, who will share current accessibility priorities and support available for online learning. Thank you so much, Don.
Good morning. Thank you. If we can move to slide 3. My name is Don Okinaka. I am the director of the California Community Colleges Accessibility Center. Moving on to slide 4, we are a grant of System-Wide Chancellor's Office. We are under the Shared Infrastructure Grant. We are a virtual office housed within the CCC Technology Center, and Butte College is our host college. We do a variety of things within our office, both for 504 and 508. We provide guidance, training, tools, and resources, in addition to supporting the Technology Center. Our funding comes from multiple areas within the System-Wide Chancellor's Office, and so we have our HTCTU funding and then our 508 funding coming from Ed Services and Information Security, Technology, and Innovation. Moving on to slide 5, diving into the training that we do more, we currently have over 90 self-paced courses housed within the CVC Canvas instance. Some that I'd like to point out are we have started dropping document testing micro courses and advanced PDF micro courses. We also provide 8 hours of webinars throughout the year. We do ACMM in-person training. We host office hours on selected topics. We have our annual GAD Day workshop. And then we have other conferences and presentations, trainings that we do throughout the year. Moving on to slide 4, We are specifically for ADA Title II implementing the accessibility, capability, maturity model. This is a 7-goal model covering by 89 milestones that's ultimately about shifting accessibility to become part of our culture through iterative improvements rather than trying to drive to a finish line that is not achievable in the time frame in which we need to. We have many different colleges participating in the ACMM. If you move to slide 7, we have all of our districts and colleges that are in currently cohorts 1 through 3. We are rolling out cohort 3 as we speak. We will begin enrollment of colleges and districts in cohort 4 starting in March for the 26-27 academic year. Moving on to slide 8. We have multiple ways to contact us. And so we have our Accessibility Center email, our ACMM email, our website, and a variety of other ways to get a hold of us for questions, guidance, additional training. Thank you very much today. And with that, I will turn it back over to Anwar.
Thank you so much, Dawn. Really appreciate all the amazing things you just shared. And again, reminder, these slides will be posted, so all this wonderful information will be accessible. Now I'll turn it to the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges. Please join me in welcoming Karen Chow and Edgar Perez.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Edgar and I are honored to be here with you this morning to represent the Academic Senate for the California Community Colleges. As you can see on this slide, our organization serves as the official voice of California Community College faculty in academic and professional matters. And so we represent about 50,000 faculty. And we are very committed to accessibility. In fact, that is one of our commitments to what we call IDEA, which stands for inclusion, diversity, equity, anti-racism, and accessibility. So if we can move to the next slide, there are 2 things that we would like to tell you about today. Also, I forgot to mention that I currently serve the ASCCC as one of our 2 at-large representatives, and also I am faculty member at De Anza College in English, Asian American Studies, and Women's Studies. And this year I am chair of our ASCCC Online Education and Educational Technology Committee. So the first thing we wanted to tell you about is our upcoming AI and Academia 2026 convening. Previously, you might recall, it was also called the AI Academy. We're very proud to partner with the California Community College's Chancellor's Office in presenting this opportunity for our system. This is a conference that is taking place Thursday, March 19th until Saturday, March 21st. And it will be at the West and South Coast Plaza. We will be centering discipline-grounded practices, nuanced conversations, and actionable solutions for teaching and learning with AI. And of course, accessibility is a very important part of that. So hopefully those of you who can join us will join us, and we'll be thrilled to see you there. Next slide, please. Edgar, my colleague Edgar, will tell us about this next opportunity that we want to let you know about.
Thank you very much, Karen. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Edgar Perez, and I am your ASCCC Area C representative. I am ESL faculty here at Los Angeles Valley College, and I am the second chair of the Online Education and Educational Technology Committee. And we are holding this Artificial Intelligence and Pedagogy Brown Bag Office Hour with the Online Education Committee. This will be our second session, and this next session coming up is on Thursday this week at 11 a.m. And so we invite you to come and ask questions, or if you just want to listen about the conversations that the Online Education Committee is engaging on around the topic of AI and pedagogy. This office hour is for you as faculty or in the system to bring your ideas or bounce ideas off of our Education Technology Committee so that we can continue the conversation and continue to listen and bring more information to the field from the faculty that are out, creating this or engage in this conversation. So feel free to bring your lunch to this office hours. The registration link will be in the slides once they are published. Thank you very much, and I'll send it back to Anwar.
Thank you so much, Karen, Edgar. We're looking forward to these events that are coming up. With that, I will now turn it to our main presenter for today's webinar, Ellie Constantine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anwar. Next slide. Hi, everybody. My name is Ellie Constantine. I am the Special AI Advisor for Accessibility for the Digital Innovation, Transformation, and Equity Center, and I'm also the Distance Education Director for Cypress College. I want to begin by acknowledging that the conversations about ADA Title II updates can bring up a lot of emotions and concern and uncertainty and anxiety, and that is 100% understandable. So today's session is really intentionally designed to be grounding and practical. The goal is not to overwhelm or alarm you, but to clarify and be explicit about what these updates mean to us as faculty within the California Community College system and what that does to our day-to-day work life. Next slide. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to start with just a brief overview of ADA Title II. We'll talk a little bit about what has not changed, so ground us in that, followed by what's new. And from there, we'll focus on really 3 key digital accessibility areas that most directly affect our faculty work, along with realistic solutions that you can try. Unfortunately, we won't really have a lot of time for a technical deep dive today, but hopefully you'll leave here with a really solid understanding of these Title II updates and some practical solutions you can utilize. Next slide. So a little overview of ADA Title II. It applies to all public colleges and universities, including the California Community College system. It focuses on equal access to programs, services, and activities, and it includes the entire digital environment, not just a specific silo within Canvas. It's online courses, Canvas content, videos, websites, apps, tools. A key point in the updated rule is that accessibility is now framed as the baseline. It's not triggered by a request for an accommodation. Responsibility is now shared institutionally. And it applies whether or not a student with a disability is enrolled in your course. Digital access is now the expectation, not the exception, regardless of who's in your class.
One moment while we switch interpreters.
Next slide. Ready? Okay.
Yes.
So let's ground us with what has not changed. Most of what we talk about today and what's in the updates are things we've already been working towards. These expectations still align with the accessibility standards that we've been working towards for years under Section 508. So a lot of this stuff will seem familiar. A lot of these we're already doing, captioning videos. We are creating screen reader friendly content. We're adding alt text to meaningful images. We're designing content that's perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. We're already doing a lot of this work under Section 508. The key takeaway is that These updates in Title II really reinforce and clarify our existing practices. So I invite you to reframe how we think about these updates, not as a sudden shift or as a burden, right? But as a continuation of the amazing work we're already doing under Section 508. Next slide. Okay, so what's new? Well, added clarity and scope. So the standard WCAG 2.1 AA, you've probably heard that word before, WCAG, is now explicitly named in the law. It's not implied, which is what it was before. Digital content and the entire digital environment is clearly and explicitly included now in the law. So for faculty, the important translation is if you choose it, if you assign it, if you upload it, if you link to it, accessibility matters. And it's really about a shared awareness across our digital environment that accessibility is important and matters. Next slide. So let's dive into some of the expanded focus here. So the new law now covers third-party content. So that includes OER material, vendor, publisher materials, external websites, social media, videos, posts, content linked to social media, mobile access. So that includes anything that it can be viewed on a phone, tablet, mobile device, and the inclusion of audio descriptions of instructionally relevant content. And we'll dive into all these a little bit more. So the bottom line is, if it's used for instructional purposes, whatever it is, and whoever created it, accessibility matters. Next slide. Okay, so focus area 1, third-party content. That's your OER textbooks, your publisher materials, your the PDFs found online, shared Google Docs, shared Microsoft Word docs, websites. Third-party content is one of the most common areas of concern that I hear from faculty. Many of us rely on a lot of this information, publisher materials, PDFs, OER. So all third-party content is now explicitly included in the Title II updates. So if you're going to assign it, if it's used in your course, accessibility matters for that material and content, regardless of who created it. Next slide. So what do? What's the solution here? Well, one of the easiest things we can do is convert content into Canvas HTML pages whenever possible, especially when you're dealing with OER material. You're well within your rights to modify OER materials. HTML works better with screen readers, scales on mobile devices easily, it's easier to update, it's way more accessible than PDFs and easier to remediate than a PDF. Plus, keeping content within Canvas instead of linking it to an outside source reduces cognitive load. And that image really is the truth. Well-designed HTML works seamlessly with assistive technology. But the good news is we don't have to become coders overnight. AI is a great tool to support this process, especially when we use bots that are specifically trained in WCAG 2.1 formatting for Canvas, which I will share with you at the end of the presentation. So here's the prompt. Convert the following content into WCAG 2.1 AA compliant HTML for use in Canvas. Format this content so it's clear, readable, accessible for students using assistive technology. And again, if you're using OER materials, you're well within your rights to reproduce this in another format. No coding expertise required. Next slide. Focus area 2, mobile access. So digital content is now covered under the law. Includes anything that could be viewed on a phone, tablet, and the assistive technology that works on a mobile device, like some of the screen readers our students use. It includes Canvas pages that can be viewed on a mobile device, embedded tools, linked content, videos, OER materials. Mobile access is no longer optional. Why does this matter? Our students are interacting with our content using mobile devices more than ever. And that's not an edge case. It's the reality of how our students access course content today. Accessibility and mobility usability are deeply connected. If the content's hard to read, difficult to scroll, or doesn't resize well on the phone, it's a big barrier. And not just for students with disabilities. This update's really about being mindful and aware of how our students realistically are accessing our digital environments. Next slide. Solutions. Well, first, check it, right? Open up the Canvas student app, look at your courses, look at your pages. Does it scroll and read easily? Does it resize well? Do links and media work as expected? That's the first thing you can do. That's the super easiest, the easiest way to check. You can also use AI to prompt it. So you can say, review and revise content so it works well on mobile devices and meets accessibility expectations. And you can sense a theme here. Much easier when we're dealing with HTML. HTML makes accessibility seamless. Not only is it easy to modify for mobile accessibility, but opening up PDFs and Word files on the phone is another barrier for our students. So keep that in mind. Next slide. The next focus area is audio descriptions. So this is a big one. So what are audio descriptions? Audio descriptions explain visual information when the visuals are needed for understanding and there's a lack of narration. So for instance, if you're doing like a demonstration or a science experiment or you're showing a chart and you're not narrating it and it's instructionally relevant to the student, audio descriptions are required. So if you are showing something in a video, you're not narrating it, but it is required for the students to take that information in, it's instructionally relevant, then audio descriptions are required. Not everything in the video needs an audio description. Only what's not narrated and what's instructionally relevant. So you don't have to worry if a bird flies by behind me, I don't need an audio description for that because that's not relevant to the instruction. If I'm doing a science experiment and I'm narrating everything, I don't need audio descriptions. It's only if there's a lack of narration and it's instructionally relevant. So what we're going to do is we are going to do a little experiment. We're going to close our eyes and we're going to listen to a video of someone doing a science experiment. I want you to think to yourself what information you would miss from this instructional video if you did not have sight. Try not to cheat because when I did it, I cheated and opened my eyes. Keep your eyes closed, envision yourself as a non-sighted user, and I want you to think to yourself, what am I missing? Okay. All right, go ahead and play the video and share sound, please.
The magic milk science experiment. You're going to take your shallow dish, and I'm using a plate here, and you're going to pour in some milk until the milk covers the bottom of the dish. Then you're going to put the drops of food coloring in, and I'm going to have each of my kids place some drops of food coloring into the milk. Go ahead. And you'll see that they're going to put the drops, you can too, drops near the center of the milk, and they're putting a number of drops of each color into the milk. Okay, put a little bit more green in there. so now you see we have our pink, our purple, our blue, and our green. So the next step is to take the dish soap, and I'm going to place a drop of dish soap into the middle of the milk. And let's see what happens.
Okay. You didn't peek, did you? I can't see you all, so I don't know. When we did this yesterday, we all kind of opened our eyes because we wanted to see what was going on. So, what did you miss? I missed a lot of information. I missed the number of drops that were added, right? I don't know how many drops were added. I don't know what the drops looked like when they hit the milk. What happened when the soap interacted with the drops inside the milk? I missed all that stuff, right? And so all of this instructionally relevant information would have been missed if I was a non-sighted user. So that's where audio descriptions come in. And audio descriptions just don't benefit our non-sighted users. You know, sometimes I'll hear, well, I don't have any non-sighted users in my class. It's not just a benefit for those students. It's actually a benefit for all students. Think about the reality of how our students learn. Many of our students listen to course videos while they're in the car or they're commuting. That's not ideal. That's not how we're assigning it. That's not the optimal modality, right? But it is the reality. So we provide videos for a reason. I get that. But how students actually use them very much matters. And furthermore, from a UDL perspective, when we add explicit audio descriptions or explicit narrations to a video, we're helping to guide all our students towards what they need to be focusing on, what they need to be paying attention to, what's important, what matters in learning. And it removes a lot of mystery. So audio descriptions and clear narration really benefit all students. Next slide. So what do we do? What are some solutions here? Well, the easiest option is just to say what you're doing it as you're doing it. Narrate. That's the easiest option. So for example, I'm clicking on an assignment tab. Now I'm going to add 7 drops of food dye to the bowl. Now I'm adding 3 squirts of soap to the bowl. The liquid is dissipating and spreading all around the bowl. The colors are now mixing. You can even describe if there's a smell or a sound. You can all the detail that's instructionally relevant, you just narrate. Narrating actions as you teach is really the most effective and efficient solution. And if you're somebody like me who kind of over narrates things naturally, then you're probably all set. You probably don't need any additional audio descriptions in any of your videos, if that's something you kind of naturally do. And if you create new videos, be mindful of that and start putting that into practice. Next slide. Okay. What happens if we have third-party content? Like maybe we're showing a video from YouTube. What do we do? Well, we can use AI to help with this, but let's look at the law first. The law says when platforms do not support built-in audio descriptions, which is the case, YouTube does not have a platform to add audio descriptions. Canvas Studio does not have a way to add audio descriptions. So that's our reality. A text-based description is allowed and compliant. WCAG 2.1 Success Criteria 1.2.3 says, An audio description or a media alternative text is provided for pre-recorded video only and pre-recorded audio video media. So that's compliant. We're good. Okay. We can use AI to prompt for a text description. Go ahead and click for the next piece in this slide. There we go. So here's an AI prompt you can use. Create a text-based audio description for the following video. Include the link. Describe only visuals that are instructionally relevant to student learning. Do not describe decorative, background, or non-essential visual elements. Focus on the action steps, diagrams, on-screen text, and visual changes that support understanding of the learning goal. And then provide the learning goal, because AI is not going to have that. We have to provide that. This is very intentionally specific. The goal is that we don't describe everything on the screen, right? But to describe only what is instructionally relevant. And that includes any actions or steps, diagrams, or screen text that students need in order to understand the learning goal, assuming there's no narration. It's also important to name what not to include. We don't want decorative visuals. We don't want any background elements or anything that does not support the learning goal. It's not about adding a bunch of description. It's about adding relevant description. And then we ask for the learning context. That's super critical. Learning objectives help guide what visuals matter and what can be excluded. AI works best when it has a lot of context. And of course, when our faculty are reviewing it through an instructional lens. So some good practices: always check the transcript, number one. Make sure that the description doesn't repeat spoken narration. Remember, it's not about adding a bunch of descriptions. We want relevant descriptions. And make sure it doesn't introduce extra stuff in there. Also, check if it gives enough description. If the video is vague, then the AI might not have enough to work with. So that's when you have to go in and add more detail. Human oversight is critical. I can't stress that enough. So best practices, you put the transcript directly under the video. And I like to put it in an expander so it doesn't clutter up the page too much. The law even says you can provide a clearly labeled link directly under the video. Bonus, link it within Canvas so the student doesn't have to navigate away from Canvas. And remember, you only focus on instructionally relevant parts without narration. You don't have to provide audio descriptions on every part of that video. When done well, this approach supports accessibility greatly. It stays compliant, and most importantly, it aligns with how our students actually engage with video content. Next slide. So resources. We have several FERPA compliant AI PlayLab bots that were created by community college faculty and staff. The Universal Access bot I created, that is UDL and WCAG 2.1 AA aligned. The Joshua bot and the Comply bot. These are all FERPA compliant bots that you can use. And I invite you to play around with them. Learn more about ADA Title II. I created an ADA Access Coach. So this is a bot that can help you create learning materials, professional development materials, gives you tips on how to remediate content. You can ask questions about the law, and really help you facilitate that conversation and training on your campuses, which is very important. CVC ONE has a lot of wonderful trainings. We have creating accessible course content, which has recently been updated to reflect the WCAG 2.1 AA. WebAIM offers a lot of really great trainings and document trainings, and the CCC Accessibility Center has webinars and trainings available. So I invite you all to take a look at those. And lastly, I just want you all to remember these ADA Title II updates are about clarity, consistency, and shared responsibility across the institution. It's no longer just DSPS's job, right? It's everyone's job. Accessibility is an ongoing practice that aligns deeply with the mission and the values of the California Community Colleges. I want to thank you all so much for your work that you're already doing, and I acknowledge it, and for your commitment to student access and equity. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Ellie. We do have quite a bit of questions in the Q&A. So if you want to look over a few of them to see which one you would like to start with responding to, since we do have some time. One of the earlier questions at the beginning was, what does shared institutionally mean from a legal perspective? That was something you had mentioned early on. Ellie, can you hear me?
Dawn, you want to take that one?
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'll be happy to. What shared institutionally means from a legal perspective. Now, this is not legal advice. This is what we have seen, is that the institution is the one responsible legally for accessibility. As employees of the institution, we are protected as part of that. We're protected and we're required to do accessibility, which means that a faculty member is not on their own if there's an OCR case or if there is a legal court case. It's the institution. And so we just have to remember our piece of the institution, and that we are an institution. Hopefully that answers it reasonably enough.
Thank you so much. Ellie, do you want me to just read out a few, or did you?
Sure.
The
And
next
anybody
one
can
I
take
was
them.
thinking is using AI to convert to Canvas HTML for physics and math content usually is lacking. Do you have any suggestions for physics and STEM math faculty to convert their PDFs or LaTeX documents? I think this applies to not just math and STEM. I know a lot of people struggle with this sometimes.
Yeah, so the universal access bot I shared at the end is trained in math SEL. So it does a pretty good job converting equations. So I'd say give that a try.
All right. Are all California community colleges required to meet the April 24 deadline? It's my understanding that public entities with a service population less than 50,000 have until April 26. Can you clarify? I'm not sure if you have the answer to this one.
It's my understanding that all the community colleges have to meet this deadline. And I think maybe it's because we're part of a bigger system, regardless of your enrollment. But I am not an attorney.
I can answer that. Yes, we have asked Office of Civil Rights, and they state that the California Community Colleges is considered one entity because of the way funding happens, and therefore we are subject to the April 24, 2026 deadline. However, contact the Accessibility Center. We'll help you with a plan if you need a plan, because full compliance by that date, we understand is not going to happen. So Office of Civil Rights really wants a plan in place.
I'll read the next one. Are students required to ensure the responses to group discussion prompts are compliant?
No, students don't have to adhere to this. And if you send a comment in Canvas, right, just one comment to a student, that's okay. But now if you're going to turn and use that comment as something instructional, that now has to be compliant. Hopefully that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Mhm.
Regarding forms and documents that are not accessible, is it still okay to use them as long as we have proof of making an effort to the organization of that content requesting that they make the content accessible?
According to the law, you cannot use it if it's not accessible. So I recommend archiving anything old, anything that you're not going to be using. But if it's going to be used instructionally, it has to be made accessible according to this update.
Ellie, there are 42 entries. So if you want to also take a
Sure.
little bit of time to skim to see if
Yeah,
there's anything that
for sure.
you think is important to cover.
So somebody said, what player hosting solution do you recommend for audio descriptions that are embedded? So right now, I don't know of any. YouTube doesn't have audio descriptions. Maybe that will change. Canvas Studio doesn't. So right now, our only option is if you're recording your own videos, narrate everything, right? If it's your own. If you have an old video, but it's yours, you can always go back into that video using like a video editing tool and do like an overlay of audio, right? Adding audio. That's pretty simple to do using Canvas Studio. If you're using a third-party tool, like I said, best option is to provide audio descriptions as a text right below it. But right now, I don't know of any platform that has an ability for us to upload audio descriptions. So and that might change. For submitted homework assignments in Canvas, are the students required to ensure their work is compliant? Okay, we already answered that one, right? YouTube videos that don't have closed captions, what's the best practice to bring them up to accessibility? We didn't create the original copy. Do we produce a transcript using AI for them? So for captions, a transcript's not sufficient for a video. They have to have ADA compliant, closed captioned, synchronized in the video and human generated, not AI generated. So the auto captions that YouTube has, they are actually pretty good. They've gotten so much better, but they are not ADA compliant because a human has not looked it over, and oftentimes they will have mistakes. So until a human looks it over and it's synchronized, not on auto scroll, it's ADA compliant. So I recommend that on YouTube we use a filter, a closed caption filter, when we're searching for videos to use. So that way anything that comes up has appropriate closed captions to use in our courses. Are there alternatives for AI use for translating files to Canvas HTML? Yes, there are. There's City Labs has capability of Design Plus has that ability to convert PDFs into HTML.
There's a longer question about part-time faculty they mentioned that courses no longer have textbooks. My question is about support from colleges in the state. I believe 1,000% or 1 million in support of all students. Accessibility is vital, but they're asking about what support for especially part-time faculty, if there is any, for them when they need to do all this conversion and so on. And this is maybe a question to not necessarily you, Ellie, but
Yeah, maybe Academic Senate.
It's a very important question. I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us at different campuses are always looking for ways to support our part-time faculty members. So thank you so much, Yvette, for that very important question.
The Accessibility Center is always happy to work with individual colleges and districts to sort that out. We do have a component of that in the ACMM for our colleges participating are already working on that. And we have just entered into a partnership with the CSU to help with some accessible course material exchanges. So the Accessibility Center is working on that, and we do work with colleges individually because there are different rules and nuances with each college.
Thank you so much, Dawn. A question from Jim. I realize AI tools are rapidly changing, but do you have a suggestion, Ellie, about any recommendation regarding which AI tools seem most effective with audio description creation at the present? Do the PlayLab bots that you shared do this well?
The problem with PlayLab is I was unable to fetch, it was unable to go when I put the link in for a video, like say a video on YouTube, right? Not my video. It was unable to go and watch the video. So I found that ChatGPT was pretty good at that. Claude was good at that. And it's a public video, so it's, I'm not really concerned about privacy because it's not my video. It's already public, right? It's already on YouTube and it's probably already in an LLM. It's probably in Gemini. So I used Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT. All of them worked fantastic. So I would recommend those platforms for a public video that's already out there.
I tried once Google Notebook, is it called, or Google Note? I played
Notebook
with it,
LM, yeah.
and that one worked well too.
Yeah.
Let's see. It is my understanding that if an instructor outright refuses to make or meet accommodations or make course accessible, in those scenarios, cases can be brought to that specific instructor. Is this accurate? Yes.
Maybe Dawn can take that one because it's more of a DSPS.
I'm sorry, I was reading, so can you?
No worries. So the question is it my understanding that if an instructor outright refuses to make or meet accommodations or make the course accessible, in those scenarios, cases can be brought to that specific instructor? Is this accurate?
My recommendation is to work with faculty unions and to work with HR and to meet the faculty where they are. Once again, every college and district has slightly different progress on this, and there is not a right or wrong answer at this point. If you want to talk more specifics, the Accessibility Center is more than happy to schedule a meeting and talk through specifics. But in terms of for this general presentation, it's generally the working with the faculty union is what's recommended.
Thank you. There are a few requests to share the slides, so I'm not sure if we can do that, if we can just share them in the chat. The next question is, what happens when a student with a learning disability is requesting a hard copy of a textbook for an online class, such as a third-party VHL Central, but there's no hard copy available? Must it be provided?
My response is going to be work with DSPS. DSPS is well versed in requirements and accommodations, and therefore that would be a question for your specific DSPS department. If you are a DSPS department and you're asking this question, contact us for an offline conversation. Because it will probably be more nuanced than what we can do in a general public session.
Yeah, and
How, yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
I,
Go
I
ahead, thank you.
so my as John put, so my 100 YouTube videos are not compliant until I type out my lectures. So they probably are perfectly compliant. It's only if there's a part of your video where you're doing some sort of demonstration that is instructionally relevant and you're not narrating. So that's the only time you're going to need audio descriptions. Other than that, you're fine. If you already narrate things and you already are very explicit in your directions, and you're good. You're good to go. You don't have to worry about it. But no, you don't have to type out 100 YouTube videos at this point. No, only if you're showing a science experiment or a demonstration that's critical for the student's learning, and you are not narrating in that video. Then the student is going to need some additional audio descriptions.
And related to that, how do we handle things that are inherently inaccessible to some folks? I teach music, and for example, I include videos of orchestras or other performing groups for our required listening. I'm not sure how to make something like this accessible.
I would say work with your DSPS department on this, to really kind of look at the specific needs of a student that's in your course. There are some technology that can help you with that, but that's, on an individual nuanced basis. So I would say work with DSPS. They have some strategies.
How does this impact students interacting with each other? For example, having a Canvas discussion where students are required to post videos of themselves speaking rather than typing text. I know you mentioned this does not apply to students.
Right. Yeah. So students, you do not have to worry about this. This does not apply to students. This is just whatever we're using for instruction. Now, if we take something from a discussion, maybe a video that one of your students posted, and we decide to use it for instruction, then it applies.
Yes, thank you so much.
Mhm.
You mentioned that colleges can get help to develop a plan. Whom do we contact, and what would what would that typically look like?
Given time today, my suggestion would be to send an email to the Accessibility Center, and I will put our email addresses in the chat. And what that looks like depends on whether it's a faculty, a staff, or a college admin contacting us, because we can do different levels of engagement or different approaches depending on what kind of plan we're trying to help make.
And then there's a question, what about videos to staff, not students? Are these subject to these rules as well? Yes, they are. And it looks like Vimeo has a capability for audio descriptions, but I have not played around with it.
There's a lot of great comments, so I'm just trying to read through the comments and the questions.
There's another one. Faculty have raised concerns to us that they don't want to upload their files to AI out of concerns. They will not have transparency or control over their personal content will be stored and used. What information do you have about AI usage of files uploaded? So yeah, so if you upload your information onto ChatGPT or Claude, it will be shared with the LLM. If you use one of our PlayLab bots, those are FERPA compliant. So what it does is they are attached to an LLM, but it scrambles the information before it gets to the LLM. So the LLM actually has no access to what you're putting into PlayLab. So if that's a concern, and that's a real meaningful, I mean, that's an honest concern, and I have the same concern, I would stick to PlayLab. Unless the information you're putting in is public, like a YouTube video that's already out there.
Hey, thank you so much, Ellie. We will be sure to save these questions and try to respond to as many as possible or all of them when we post the slides and the recording. I want to thank you. We have like 5 minutes, so I don't know if you want to do a few more or if we should keep it for that document.
Sure, I can do one more. What is the experience listening to a lecture with extensive audio descriptions? Are there 2 audio streams at once? So no, because the audio, where you're putting the audio descriptions, there's no audio, there's no narration. So if it was my video that I recorded and I'm putting audio in, it would just be an audio overlay over that one portion that I was quiet. Does that make sense? So it would only be 2 audio descriptions at once because you're already describing something. The point is that you're using audio descriptions when there's no sound, when there's no narration. Hopefully that makes sense and I didn't confuse you.
Thank you so much, Ellie, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. Before you go, please look at the chat. We dropped the link for the survey. Please take a moment to fill it out. It will very much help us to improve on future programming. And we encourage you to also explore other webinars from our systems that will be offered throughout the term. Thank you, Garrick, for posting the link for that. The Vision Resource Center has all of the amazing webinars listed, so please check them out. Lastly, this webinar's recording and associated slides will be available on the CVC ONE webinar site. Please allow a few days for these to be captioned so they could be posted. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We hope to see you at future sessions. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.